Now, before you begin to relax nice and deeply, I'm just going to say a little bit about how changing the way you offer feedback to people, and even to yourself, can make you so much more effective as a communicator. Now, the fact that you've chosen to listen to this means that you're aware that there are times in your life when you're too critical. Maybe you've felt like things around you are never done properly, that there's always something that someone should have done better, and you've needed to tell them exactly where they went wrong. Maybe even your own plans and projects have often failed to turn out as good as they could have been, and perhaps you've been criticizing yourself too. Perhaps you've noticed that this perfectionist stance, this critical attitude, doesn't tend to bring out the best in people. In fact, psychologist John Gottman found he could successfully predict the success or failure of a marriage after just a few minutes of watching a couple interact and noticing what happens when they disagree. One of the significant areas he looks at is exactly what they do when they're unhappy with a particular behaviour. Do they make specific targeted complaints about the behaviour, or do they tend to make sweeping global accusations about their spouse's personality? For example, if the husband hasn't done the dishes, can the wife calmly explain that she feels unhappy about the dishes not being done that night, keeping her complaint specific about that one event? Or does she come in with a sweeping personal criticism like, "Why are you always so lazy and selfish?" If she takes the second approach, and these kind of sweeping personal criticisms occur regularly in the conversation, this is a strong indicator that the marriage will fail. So how you deliver feedback is very important to maintaining relationships. If you're unhappy about an event involving another person, it's critical to steer clear of making sweeping generalizations about the person and stick to negotiating the specifics of what you'd like to happen in future. Another useful distinction when offering feedback is that it's easier to process a positive instruction than a negative one. "Don't think of orange penguins" is a very difficult instruction to follow, because to understand it, you need to think of orange penguins. In the same way, thinking or saying things like "don't fall off that tree" or "don't screw up in the test" can have an unintended negative effect, because to understand the sentence, the listener has to imagine it happening. It's much more powerful and effective to say, "Keep a strong grip on that branch, and do your best to be calm and focused in the test." So you might consider where you can offer people targeted, specific feedback about what you'd prefer to happen, and not what you don't want. Because we aren't just talking about being nice here. We're talking about how you can be a much more effective communicator and bring out the best in yourself and others. So if you haven't yet closed your eyes, you can do so now, and just take a nice deep breath, and let it out slowly and evenly. And as I talk, you may find that your conscious mind begins to drift, and that body will begin to relax. But there's no need to try to make that happen, because that body knows how to relax all by itself. It does it each and every night as you drift off to sleep. And that conscious mind knows how to wander. It can wonder which of those hands feels the most comfortable right now. And it can wonder how it would feel if that face and neck were a little more comfortable now. It can wander into times and places where you felt real comfort in the past. Times when you could just let go inside. Holidays, times you could stretch out and gaze up at the sky and let your thoughts become comfortably fuzzy. The warmth of sunshine, the smell of fresh air, And with a deep sigh, you can know that you're about to learn things of importance, to you're becoming a much more effective communicator. Instinctive new patterns of responding. And when you let yourself relax deeply, that's it, and focus inside, you free up the instinctive, creative parts of that mind to explore new possibilities. And you might remember that there was once a time when you were still learning to write the letters of the alphabet many years ago. Your small hand gripping a pencil and copying out the letters A, B, and C, and trying to get it right. And the letters that you drew never perfectly matched the letters you were copying. But the more you did it, the better you got. The more you developed an instinctive ability to write in a style that other people could read, but that was uniquely your own. And there was once a woman, many years ago, who had never mastered this skill. She could neither read nor write. Many people had tried to get her to learn, pointing out what she needed to copy, where she was going wrong, criticizing her for being slow, telling her, no, that's wrong. And she'd reached middle age without ever learning to read or write properly. And everyone around her had given up hope that she would ever learn. And she'd pretty much given up herself. Until one day, she went to see a very wise man, Milton Erickson, who did something that nobody else had ever done. And as you relax even deeper, I'd like you to stop for a moment. That's it. And bring to mind a time when you've been a bit overly critical in the past. This could be a time you criticized yourself or another person. Any time will do. And as one comes to mind, I'd like you to be able to watch that time from the outside, like seeing it happening on a screen, seeing your face in that time, hearing the tone of your voice, whether it was thoughts you were saying to yourself, or how you were talking to another person. And just remember a few of the things you were saying on that occasion. That's it. As you continue now to relax even deeper, you can ponder how Milton Erickson knew that the answer was to begin at the very beginning. and talk with that woman about how many letters she already knew, without even knowing that she knew them, because she'd looked at a mountain with a snow-covered peak before, had she not? And so, of course, she understood the shape of a capital A. And she'd certainly sliced a piece off the right side of a tomato before. And she understood the shape of a lowercase a. And she must have looked at a pair of tweezers upside down and understood the shape of a letter V. And the more he connected the letters to what the woman already knew, to her skills in knitting and embroidery, and the patterns she knew how to make, to her knowledge of gardening and how to arrange a flower bed, the more her eyes lit up, and the more eager she became to practice with these new understandings. And each and every time she copied out the letters, Ericsson would find what she'd done well and underline what was good and emphasize the successes, so that when he came to show her where she could make her other letters even better, she already knew she was succeeding. And it was only a question of how she could improve even more. And so, in spite of everyone else's gloomy predictions, that woman learned to read and write. And if you once again remember that time you were overcritical, I'd like you to begin to see yourself again in that time, now changing your tone, your facial expression, more reassuring, kinder, carefully choosing more encouraging words, being complimentary about what is good, saying quite specifically where you'd like things to improve even more, and noticing how these changes completely change the situation. That's good. And if a similar situation happens in the future, what will it be like to relax with these resources within you? To notice something not quite right, and perhaps momentarily feel that old urge, tempting you to make sweeping criticisms. That sense of knowing you're right and this thing is wrong, and to just stop And remember that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that just because you know a mistake has been made doesn't mean you need to make another one by blurting out sweeping criticisms, because you can be a much more effective communicator than that. And you can open your field of vision beyond what's not so good to see the good that's there. Because those early attempts you are making to write the letters of the alphabet were never perfect. But the more you practice, the better you get. And there were bits you got good marks for, and then some corrections. And step by step, you got better and better, and evolved your own unique style. And those good marks were just as important as those corrections, were they not? To let you notice successes, notice the good things, as well as what needs improving. And so once again, you can bring to mind a future time, circumstances where you might have once been too critical, and notice the new things you can see and say about what's good as you reinforce the successes, about what can improve, being specific about the task at hand, and how that changes the way others feel in your presence, how you feel in yourself, a lightness, a warmth, and an enthusiasm to help, to create, how you really bring out the best in yourself and others. That's it. And I wonder how many beneficial changes is this going to create for you? And you can listen to this session often and deepen these changes each and every time as you do. And in a moment, you can prepare to return to waking consciousness, feeling very good as you do. Like you've been on a wonderful vacation, gazing at the sky, dreaming comfortably, and then coming back feeling wonderfully refreshed and restored. That's it. And you can do that now, just by noticing the position of your body and the sensation of the surface that you're resting on. And as your mind reorientates to this present moment, you can come all the way back now, feeling wide awake. And as you open your eyes, you might enjoy a nice stretch. And welcome back. Good.